Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Azure IoT Hub, which is a cloud service. Then we're going to connect the Raspberry Pi to the Azure IoT Hub. And finally, we're going to send data from the Raspberry Pi to the Azure IoT Hub. What data? The light sensor from the Nightlight project I showcased in my last video. That light sensor value would be going to the Azure IoT Hub. Let's get started by talking about the Azure IoT Hub service. Now let's talk about what is Azure IoT Hub. Azure IoT Hub is a fully managed cloud service from Microsoft that allows secure communication between IoT devices and the cloud. There are seven key features. First, bidirectional communication. That means it supports device-to-cloud telemetry data and cloud-to-device commands or updates. Secondly, secure communication. That means uses per-device authentication, encryption, and access control. Thirdly, scalability. That means it can handle millions of devices and large volumes of data with built-in scaling. Fourthly, device management. That means it provides features for remote monitoring, firmware updates, and device configuration. Fifth, integrates with Azure services like Azure Stream Analytics, Azure Functions, Power BI, and many more for real-time processing and visualization. Sixth, message routing. That means automatic route messages to device services based on custom logic or conditions. Seventh, device twinning. That means maintains a virtual representation of a device for syncing states, metadata, and configuration. That is about. Now we're going to install the Azure CLI on our Mac, then create a resource group using Azure CLI, then link that to the Azure IoT Hub. Let's get started. First, I'm going to install the Azure CLI through brew. Once I've installed it, I'm going to install a extension called Azure IoT. First, it's going to search for it, then install it. After installing it, I'm going to log into the Azure CLI. Once I have logged in successfully, you can see a subscription name and subscription ID. If you are a new user, you need to go create that in the Microsoft Azure website. Now I'm going to set mine. Then I'm going to say AZ account list dash locations dash output table. What it's going to do is whatever locations Microsoft Azure supports, it's going to list it. There are so many locations like South Africa, Spain, Sweden, and we have West US 2, West US 3, and mine says South Central US. Now we're going to create a resource group. We're going to say AZ curate group and name is IoT Hub 4 and location is South Central US. You need to change the name and location based on where you live and the name you want to set for the resource group. Now it's creating the resource group. It succeeded. Now we're going to create the IoT hub and link the resource group to it. The command is AZ space IoT hub create dash dash resource group, and I named it as IoT hub 4. Whatever yours is, you have to put it here. And next is SKU F1, that means free resource tier. And then partition count 2. And the name of the IoT hub, I named it as Nightlight. Whatever you name it, you have to put it here. Now the IoT hub is created successfully under the name of Nightlight, and the resource group we linked to it was IoT Hub 4. Now that we have successfully created the IoT Hub, we can see that in the Microsoft Azure website, that in the IoT Hub service, that our Nightlight IoT Hub is made. Whatever yours is, it should pop up here like this. Now that we have successfully created our IoT Hub, now we're going to register our device to the IoT Hub. Let's see. When we click on our IoT Hub, we can notice that IoT device is 0. We're going to change that to 1. Once we change it to 1, we know that our device is registered. In our case, we're using the Raspberry Pi to connect it to the IoT Hub. Now we're going to register our device to the IoT Hub. The command is AZ space IoT space hub device dash identity create dash dash device dash ID, and my device ID name is Raspberry Pi 3B. The hub name, which is the IoT hub, is Nightlight. Whatever yours is, you have to put it here. Whatever your device ID you want to set has to be put here. Now it's successfully registered. The next thing is we need to get the connection string. The command is AZ space IoT space hub space device dash identity connection dash string show. Our device ID was Raspberry Pi 3B, So we're putting it here. And now we're going to say a hub name, which is nightlight. Now that we got the connection string, now I'm going to program the Raspberry Pi to send the light sensors values to the Azure IoT Hub that we just created. Now that we have programmed the Raspberry Pi to send the license values to the Azure IoT, I'm going to explain the code to you guys. First, we have defined few libraries, which are time library, light sensor library, LED library, JSON library, and Azure IoT device library. Next, we have a variable called connection underscore string, which stores the connection string. Next, we're defining two pins, which are light sensor pin and LED pin. Then we're connecting the IoT client using the connection string. First, we're having connection string and connecting it to the device client. Next, we're using the device client to connect it to the Azure IoT Hub. Next, we're making a function to handle the direct method request from the Azure IoT Hub. What that means is basically this function will get the data from the Azure IoT Hub and make a decision to turn on the LED or to turn off the LED. Then next, we're sending success response back to the Azure. What that means is once it's successfully done this part of the code, it's going to send a success to the Azure IoT Hub. Next, we're attaching the method handler to the client. Then we're making a main loop to continuously read the license value and send it to Azure every 10 seconds. That means this while loop will go forever, and inside of that, we're storing the license's value to a light variable. Then we're printing it, and finally, we're creating a JSON message with the light sensor readings. Then we're sending it to the Azure IoT Hub. Then we're waiting for 10 seconds. Now that we have programmed the Raspberry Pi to send the license value to Azure IoT Hub, I'm going to show you the program in action and also what the Azure IoT Hub is receiving. Let's get started. First, I'm going to run the program. Once I run the program, we can notice it says connecting, then connected, then the license's value. Every 10 seconds, a new value will be printed here. Now let's see what the Azure IoT Hub gets. I'm going to run this program called AZ IoT space hub space monitors dash events dash dash hub the space name space the IoT hub name. Once I run this program, we can see the license values that are getting printed from the Azure IoT hub. We can see that the device ID is here and the license values are here. Every 10 seconds, the Azure IoT Hub will receive a message from the Raspberry Pi and then it will get printed here. In today's video, we talked about what is Azure IoT Hub, then created a research group which we linked to Azure IoT Hub. Then we programmed the Raspberry Pi to send license values to the Azure IoT Hub. Then we monitored what messages the Azure IoT Hub is gathering from the Raspberry Pi, which we sent to the Azure IoT Hub. Thanks for watching today's video. Like, subscribe, and comment, and feel free to join my Discord server and follow me on Instagram and Twitter.